Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what another green day today, and just nothing but a straight melt up. I mean, no volatility whatsoever. It just grinded and grinded and grinded, buddy. And there's a reason why that is happening. Okay, we're gonna get into one because it's very important to understand why that is allowed to happen. Two, an indicator that's only triggering like 17 times in the history of the market. We'll talk about that one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because honestly, I don't even think it's that big a deal. But you know, you let me know in the comments if you do. But I have this channel, so I have to tell you because it's all over the internet right now. And so I just want you to know about it because it does have to do with breadth. That's the part I do think is a big deal. Also, you know, clear rotation right now that we talked about from defensives into these tech stocks, which have been just beat down. You might notice Google just reported really good earnings. Okay, plus a $70 billion stock buyback. And so we'll go over that chart. You might notice Meta. What's it doing in after hours? Why? Okay, because of Google. That's why, because they're making a lot of their money off ad revenue, right? And so that's a big one. Another one to watch out for, which is lagging for sure. And this one has a lot of exposure to China. Maybe that's why it's lagging. So we'll see if it's going to get its breakouts. I showed you that all these charts and like what they're looking like and what you're seeing as far as the, that trend line resistance coming down. It's getting broken, boom, higher lows and all that good stuff moving up. And this one fits in that category. But I just did a whole write-up for the members. And I'll just say it like this very clearly. One, we were waiting for a rally like this, right? Not like the one-day 10% rally. I'm talking about a rally where it was multiple days, right? This is what you normally see in times like this. Why has this started to happen? Okay, just think of a ship where they used to, the old steamboats, or whatever. They used to shove the coal into the fire in the bottom, right, and that kept it going and stuff. Well, that's what you're seeing with these headlines. Okay, and understand, President Trump and his administration, they flipped and went to watching not just the bond market but the stock market, right? We know that because President Trump has commented on the stock market multiple times in just the last 3 days. Okay, and so what's the market like to hear? And again, don't get biased by your political opinion. It don't matter if the headlines are true or false. All the market cares about is, that maybe they're talking to China, maybe they're not. What do I mean by this? Check this out.
这些都是假消息。据我了解，中美双方并没有就关税问题进行磋商或谈判，更谈不上达成协议。
Yes. A question on China. Can you clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual, I think you have your reporting wrong. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
And so does it matter? I mean, in the long run, it's going to matter, but no, because the market is doing what? It's on this buying spree right now where, stocks are moving up. So we just use this as coal, right? It don't matter. If it's true, false, who cares? Okay. But you'll see people that get hung up and go, but I don't like the person. So no, it can't be true. And maybe it's not true. Doesn't matter. All that matters is what the market thinks and how the market uses it. If you ain't noticed the last 2 days, what has it been doing? Especially I saw this today. Anytime we would get anywhere near any form of resistance or start to kind of see a little softening, they literally are recycling old headlines to throw out there. Why? Because in Discords and all over Twitter, everything is bot. It is run by bots, right? So it spreads like wildfire. Yesterday, the Wall Street Journal had a bullish headline out that wasn't even true, right? But the market spiked immediately as soon as it hit, right? Because it's run by computers. And so it is bullish for, the market to sit there and see, oh, cool, the administration, they've changed the tone. And you can see the tone change for sure. Okay, so there's none of this, well, it's going to be pain. Right? There's none of that going on anymore. They don't even talk about that. The two people who are talking about that hadn't been allowed to speak anymore. The calmer voices are the ones speaking, right? Here's something else that was really upsetting people was this right here. And they went ahead and confirmed this. This was the day or yesterday, but I think it was late last night. This guy confirmed that it is toast.
I think it would be very disruptive because a lot of the millionaires would leave the country. In the old days, they left states. They go from one state to the other. Now with transportation so quick and so easy, they leave countries. You'll lose a lot of money if you do that. That would, and other countries that have done it have lost a lot of people. They lose their wealthy people. That would be bad because the wealthy people pay the tax. Okay.
And again, I'll talk about that in Saturday's video because I got a whole nother issue with that one. But they were talking about adding another tax bracket. I think it was 40%. And then what they were going to do is take that money they were getting in and be able to actually pass more tax cuts for people making like $150,000 or less, right? That's what they were trying to offset these things. And I was there going, really? But boy, they were having a hissy fit. I mean, on the news every day, they were just railing. Like, how can you be a Republican and raise money on millionaires? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's something they think Democrats do, right? And so they were flipping out. So it was funny. But what is that? That right there is more liquidity to be invested, right? Because if you're going in the 36% tax bracket and all this other stuff, you ain't spending that money in the out in the economy. That money is going to be invested. Okay, so now I think it was 4%, 5%, whatever more. That money will just continue to go into investments now, right? Versus taken out. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. So let me know what you think about that down in the comments. And why I'm thinking about, by the way, again, a lot of you don't watch football. But I know it's like a 95% male audience for this channel. Those that do, though, let me know what team you root for, and which player you want to be drafted for your team. I'm Chicago Bears. I have a list, honestly. I like Gentry, the running back. I also like the LSU left tackle. I like the Missouri right tackle, but we don't need a right tackle. I love the Michigan nose tackle. Mason Graham, I believe it is. Again, a lot of these guys aren't even going to fall to us. We're picking at 10, so not going to happen. Some of these are pipe dreams. We also need a pass rusher. Some people are saying we need a tight end. I'm like, I don't really want a tight end at 10. But, these pass rushers, once you get past like 8 or 9, are kind of going to be projects. But I'll take one of those as well. So I have my list, and I'll just sit there and go, okay, cool, here we go. And mark them off as they get drafted. So let me know on the bottom. Now, one reason you're seeing, obviously, again, relief rallies, short covering rally, whatever you want to call them, because we'll talk about the charts and how, again, we'll see if all this stuff is real once we start getting to these major moving averages and major type of structures and resistance levels and stuff right now, because we were so far down so fast that we got a little bit to go on that one. But when you look right here, retail has never faltered. They have been net buyers of this whole thing. And so you can see, I mean, every dip has been bought up, okay, for sure. That it's the one time I can remember that even when we got to 20%, like retail did not capitulate. And I know there was people in retail that did capitulate, but again, did not, just kept going. Another one is the breath you're seeing come back in the market. This is I think he pronounces Zeg breath thrust. I think is how you pronounce this. I've heard of this before. It's only triggered like 17 times in history. We've seen a few of them since 2020. That's the only reason I remember this thing. But the one thing I want to take away from it, don't worry about this, is look, it identifies when the market shifts from a state of being oversold to overbought in a very short-term time frame, typically within 2 weeks. It's based on market breadth, which looks at the ratio of advancing stocks to declining stocks. That's all I want you to take away from that part. And then you can pause this and look at this if you want to. But 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 1 month, 3 months, all that stuff later, especially the year, and 6 months out, you see a lot of green and very few red, right? You can go and look at the dates here. A lot of these did happen around crash times and all that fun stuff. Some of them were not. And so it rarely triggers. That's why it's getting a lot of hype right now. But it triggered in 2019. It triggered twice in 2023. And so again, even the 1, 2 week, 3 weeks later, like you don't see a huge percentage there. And so it's not like, oh my God, it triggers, we're going, right? Because what are we fixing to come into? A whole boatload of resistance as we talked about, but it did trigger, so that's a good thing, right? Now, when you look at this right here, you can see clearly Soxo leads once again. So the semiconductors are the most beaten down. That's always what turns first and gets the most love, and what is coming out and not as hot anymore. Utilities, consumer staples, healthcare, all that fun stuff. And so, just keep that in mind. Also, when you look over at the defensive stocks, told you we're tracking this. Just looking at the ones we had tracked before, which were up every single day we were in this crash. And now all of a sudden, maybe some of them are green, not very much, but a lot of them are red now because money's flowing back out of there. And that's what we'll have to watch to see if that is a true rotation or just a short-term rotation, okay? Because we are coming up into this gap. We talked about this. We're coming up into this gap. If we fill this gap right here, right at the very top on the S&P above this gap, is the 300 moving average, all-time high anchor VWAP, and we were waiting to get above the Trump candle. This was the day he did the pause, this crazy 10% day. We did get above and close above that today, and so that was a big thing to see. Again, we got above that descending trend line, barely, but we got above it. And actually, during the nighttime, we came back down and tested that level about 3 or 4 in the morning, and then it just grinded up from there all day long. This is the S&P, you can't see the futures, but on the futures, it just grinded up. You see it. There was no major pullbacks, no crazy candles. Oh my God, we went down 2% in like a minute. You know what I'm saying? The reason why that was able to grind up, though, is because the VIX. The VIX continued to move down. You need the VIX to get below 20, though, to really know if this is going to be super serious. But yes, as the VIX grinds down, that's when you'll get out of these 2% 1 minute candles. I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm talking about when I say this. So again, if we move up in this gap tomorrow or get a pullback first, tomorrow is Friday, we could definitely use a pullback to come down, grab some liquidity and go back up. That's what I'd like to see. But, I don't always get my wishes. So if we did, move up in that gap, you're probably going to see it move up and actually fill it tomorrow. It won't surprise me, or Monday. But then you'll have the gamma flip line, which is going to be somewhere in there, 300 moving average, all-time high anchor VWAP. So all kinds of stuff is going to be in there to really test and see how much this has going for it, okay? The Qs, if we go to the daily, you can see we're testing the all-time high anchor VWAP right now. Again, that right there is a 4-hour fair value gap that is moving up into, so it won't surprise me if it kind of stalls out maybe just a little bit here. But again, with Google reporting, Meta's raging after hours, not going to be surprised if you see another big move up today. I don't know what's going to happen during Asian hours tonight. That's going to be interesting. And then, of course, during European hours, we'll see. But we'll see if this gets moved up in here. It should, if all these gains actually hold on Meta and them. And what we're waiting on is to see what the CTAs do, right? And you see these levels. This is on the SPX, the S&P that is. When these start to trigger, because they're not trend setters, they're trend followers, well, obviously that's a lot of money. It's billions of dollars that will be coming back in because they've been super short the S&P. So it's something we got to keep an eye on. Now, when you look over here at Google, you see what I'm talking about. We'll see if this holds. I don't know why it wouldn't at this point in time. They did report really good earnings, $70 billion stock buyback. And this one was kind of lagging, right? It really was compared to some of the others, and like a Meta and stuff. And so when we go to the daily, we'll mark out where it is now. This is extended hours and the 4-hour. You can kind of see what's going on here. And I want to just bring up stuff like, that trend line we talked about right there. If we go to regular hours, this is what you're seeing on a lot of these stocks, right? Getting rejected, boom, finally breaking out, kind of like a W formation, right? A W pattern, higher and low, all that fun stuff. If it opens tomorrow where it's at now, it'll be above the 50. Again, we've seen, the gains getting lost overnight, but it would actually be above the 50, 200. You can see where that says. We'll mark out where it's at right now. Again, I don't know where this is going to open up at, so I can only go by this. But we just break that previous high right there. All right, so we'll have a higher and low. We're starting to set lower time frame, higher highs, which is what you want to see and stuff. Again, the 200 will be challenged right around 173 if it continued to move up, which we break another previous high right there. Do I expect it to happen tomorrow? It is Friday. I don't expect it to happen tomorrow, but you never know at this point in time when you're in this kind of move up. And then we go over to Meta. You can see in after hours, oh boy, 533 they closed at, 553 is actually where they're at in after hours. So they are moving because of Meta, because wow, well, guess what? They get a whole lot of their revenue from the ads and stuff. You can see we'll draw this trend line over it currently where it's at now. We were above that, so you can start to see that same thing. Remember, this is a double bottom playing out here right now. It'll be above that trend line. Actually, it'd be right at the 50 fib retracement right here when we swing from the previous high to low right there. And so again, this is a double bottom chart pattern. And Meta's, when it moves, right? And it's definitely moving. I expect to get up there. I'm not saying that. But this is what's playing out right now. And so that would open right at the 50 fib actually. And so that's normally either that or the gold pocket where you'll get some kind of pullback. It doesn't be a major pullback of any kind, but that's what we're looking at. And again, if it opens up here, Google opens up way up, it'll start dragging others up as well. You can almost imagine that. Then, we can start off, but eventually, yes, we will come down and grab some liquidity at some point in time. We're kind of in no man's land right now. When you look at it, especially coming up in that gap though, you would think, the gap should fill tomorrow if that is the case, or at least gap up into it. And then crowd, of course, I said if we ever get above that resistance level right there, it's going to be explosive. And boy, was it. It had a big move up today. Again, so, this one's another one. If it comes back down, that previous resistance will be support to continue to move up. You can see us all-time highs right over there. It's not even that far off, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But this has been one I've been talking about for a while. It's another double bottom. This is still, continue to play out right now, as you can see, and been one of the stronger performers. Netflix, this is an interesting one. We talked about the structure, right? It just kept coming up and up and up. Told you Josh Brown, he sold, I think he sold Google actually for Netflix. But you can see it's at this trend line. That's why I'm bringing it up. I want to see what happens to this trend line, because this trend line right here goes back to 2018, I believe. And so you're talking about a 7-year trend line. Every other time we've rejected. And so let's just see if we reject. I'm not saying we're coming down major or anything. I'm just saying, let's see if it even gets through. Because if it gets through it, that's going to be super freaking bullish, especially if it retests and turns it into a support area. But this one's just been on fire again. This one's been talked about, like I told you, as a defensive play, and then of course as a regular tech play, right? Because its subscription is so freaking cheap. And I asked you guys in the comments, like, would you cancel yours if we hit a recession? Most people said no. I mean, I wouldn't, because it's just gotten so cheap. And so I want to see what happens at this trend line right here. And the last two, you got Microsoft right here. Again, W formation coming up into resistance right now, but if we can break above that, just targeting that 50 Fibonacci is where I've been looking at, which I think is like 412 or something like that. No, I'm sorry, 408. So 408 right there, and you see where that was support resistance multiple times. Currently, it is testing the 50 moving average, and again, that 50 Fibonacci also is where the 100 moving average would be. So that's something I'll be looking at on Microsoft. I think they report next week, maybe next Thursday. I'll let you guys know on Saturday or Sunday's video about that, but I believe that's when they report. Now, the one that's been lagging a lot and maybe going to start to play catch up is Amazon, right? It hasn't broke above this trend line. You can see we had 4 touches, I believe, on it. And so if this can break above, and after hours, it is above it right now. And so, you know, if we open up from there, then there you go, higher and low, maybe a W pattern type playing out right here as well. So keep an eye on Amazon, a lot of Chinese exposure. So that's what's been holding it back. Now, when it comes to data tomorrow, I wouldn't really worry about any earnings. You got revised university admission consumer sentiment and inflation expectations, which who knows, you don't think that's going to be very good. So I don't really think it's going to affect the market that much. And so we'll see what goes on. Feel free to put any more questions you have for Saturday's video down in the comments, and I'll get to those. Thanks for watching all the videos. Really appreciate it. Please hit that like, subscribe button if you got anything out of this. And think I'll sign up for membership. Less than McDonald's combo, and that's everything you get with it. And I'll see you guys on Saturday.